Howdy everyone, this is Boone, and today I'll be covering another duration of slack problem. But this duration of slack problem is a little bit different from the others, as it asks what is the slack before ebb. So let's go through that and what it means and how to account for it. On 1367, it states, you went to transit Hell's Gate, or Hellgate, New York, on 23rd July 1983. Was a period of time around the AM, ZD plus 4, slack before ebb, when the current will be less than 0.3 knot. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, so let's go through it step by step. So we'll be transiting Hellgate, New York. (23rd July 83). And it's very vague, but ask, what is the time around the AM? I'll show you what that means in a second. And we have to mark here that it is not daylight savings time, but it is ZD plus 4. So we're going to have to add in an extra hour to account to make it ZD plus 5 because it is Hellgate. And we know from previous problems that that is a ZD plus 5 area. We're going to put plus 1 hour. Just off to the side right here, just an old box so I can remember it. I'll cross it out when we get there. And when the current will be less than 0.3 knot, like I discussed earlier, I'm going to put 0.3 knot out up here because we'll be using this with table 4 later on in the problem. Now, I'm not going to explain the rest of the how to do all this because we really don't need it. Hellgate, New York, from previous problems, if you remembered, is a reference station itself, so we do not need any of that information. To make this easier, I'm just going to show you guys where Hellgate starts, and it starts on page 170 of the PDF. So we're just going to cross all this stuff out. Duration slide don't need directions, they just need the reference station, which is above. Let's rewrite that real quick. Alrighty, so now that we have that, let's go down to our date, which is July 83. I just want to show you where I was finding this from. If you put in Hellgate into the control F function, you will find it right on the spot. July, and then it's the 23rd July. So let's use the marquee tool and zoom in on that. Cool. Right there, and you guys can see July now. By 23rd, I would say. Now, the problem asks, what is the slack before ebb? Now, while we haven't really covered definitions extremely well, this is referring to what is the mem before ebb, which is same as slack before ebb. So minimum and slack are the same wording. So when you account for mem before ebb, you're accounting for this right here. And since it's not asking for flood, it's asking for ebb, you're going to use the slack. You're using the slack value before the ebb. So these are both flood values right here and right here. This is slack before flood, slack before flood. This is slack before ebb because it is the slack of the ebb velocity. Hopefully that makes sense. That's probably one of the most confusing parts of this problem. Now that we have that, we need to remember that is a plus 1 hour out to the side. So it would be 0948 and 0652 and 1246 with a 4.4 ebb and a 3.3 flood. Now, we took both of these because these are the maximum current between our slack that we need for the duration of slack below. So that's why I took both this flood and this ebb and both these numbers right here. I had to add in the hours. Hopefully that makes sense. That is probably the most confusing part of the problem, is understanding why it's asking slack before ebb. So hopefully that makes sense. The rest of the problem should sound the same. Oh, and also ask the period of time around the AM. Now, there's only one ebb time here. Well, there's only one ebb time on the 23rd. And if you thought this one might be as well, it's asking for the AM, not the PM. So that's why you want to use 2107 as a slack before ebb, which it would be, but it's asking for AM, not PM. So that's why we're using 0848, which would be 0948 in the problem. Alrighty, so now that we have that, let's make this a tad bit bigger, and let's solve the rest of the problem. Okay, cool. So we're coming down to duration of slack, and our times of current, I'm going to put in F and E right here so that we know what we are referring to in each one. The times of the maximum current are 0652, and the ebb max is 1246. The maximum current is 3.3 F and 4.4 flood. The desired maximum is we will need to use table 4 to find that. Now when we come to table 4, we need to figure out, is it table A or table B? But since this is Hellgate, we're going to be using table B. Now we know what table we're looking for, we need to find what is the closest to 3.3 and 4.4. 3.3 rounds closer to 3.0 than 4, so we're going to be using 3.0, and 4.4 rounds down to 4.0, closer than, oops, that's not focusing. And 4.4 rounds closer to 4.0 than 5, so 4.0. Now that we have that, we're going to be using our table 4 to get our periods for the rest of the problem. So, as we stated above, you're looking for the 0.3 knot, so 0.3, and then we're going to go down to 3.0 and 4.0, so 0.3, 4.0 and 3.0, which would be the 13 minutes and 9 minutes. So now that we have those two numbers, the 3.0 winds up with a 13, and the 9 winds up with a 4.0. You put minutes here just to track your work. The sum of the periods is 13 plus 9, which would be 22. The average period would be 22 divided by 2, which is going to be 11. Now to find a duration of slack, we need to divide that by 2 again to get plus or minus 5.5. Now that we have that, we need to find our time of slack. Our time of slack is found above right here. Our time of slack is 0948 because that is a slack before ebb. Alrighty, so we're going to put 0948 right here. And then we're going to put in 0948 minus 5.5 and plus 5.5. And one more thing I have figured out while doing more of these problems is how the Coast Guard, on the Coast Guard problems, likes rounding. We do not need table 4 anymore for the remainder of this problem. So on the from, they like to round up to the closest integer, and they like to round down to the closest integer on 2. So 48 minus 5.5, we're going to be rounding that up to 43. This would be 42.5. So we're going to be rounding that up to 0943, and 48 plus 5.5 is 53.5, which we're going to be rounding down 0953. Now we're going to make this a little bit smaller and put this right around here. Go to our additional questions again, and we see that we have gotten the correct answer. B, 0943 to 0953. That is how you find the slack before ebb problems. Hopefully this video has been of some help to some people. Please let me know if you have any further questions. Thanks again.